Welcome to Project Review Committee for August 30th, 2023. We're going to go ahead and start today's Project Review Committee at 1:33 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and start with roll call here from city staff. Myself, Oscar Cepeda, the Associate Planner. We're also joined by Jason Reidenauer, the Assistant City Manager. We're also joined by Jeff O'Neill, the City Planner. We're also joined by Rocio Mejia, our Assistant Planner. We're also joined by Javier Sanchez, the Engineering and Project Management Director. We're also joined by Michael Knight, our Public Works Director. We're also joined by Clayton Dignam, our Fire Marshal. We're joined by James Wickersham, our Chief Building Official. We're also joined by Robert Alvarez, our Field Services Manager. We're also joined by Sarah Torres from the Engineering Division. I believe that is all from staff. No, David. We're also joined by David Payne, our Water Utility Superintendent. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and open oral communications. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the committee on any matter pertaining to project review. Hearing none, we're going to go ahead and close oral communications. So for today's agenda, we have one item, which is PRC 2023-030 for the Family Healthcare Network. Go ahead and share my screen here. As far as the application, it is our understanding that the proposed preliminary development is to provide private parking as a off-site parking facility here for the Family Healthcare Network located at 1137 West Poplar Avenue. Again, is to provide more parking there for the facility and to ease any congestion there on Prospect Street. With that, we're going to go ahead and start with our fire department with Clayton.
Fire department doesn't have any comments about the proposal.
Thank you, Clayton. Next, we'll start with our engineering division with Javier.
All right, thanks, Oscar. I just had a couple minor comments. One is that the sidewalk pattern will be offset. So it'd be the curb, the landscape parkway, and then the offset sidewalk up against the right-of-way. The drive approaches will be our city standard C20, similar to what you showed, just with the radius of 10 feet. And then we'd be looking for just another street light at the south end of the property on Prospect Street. Besides that, that's all the engineering has on this.
Thank you, Javier.
Mm-hmm.
With planning, as far as the design of the parking area, it does look like it complies with the city's development standards. The property is outside city limits, but it is within the city's urban development boundary. As far as the design of their parking areas, it does comply with our standard. One question would be as far as would there be any city municipal services being requested as part of this project?
It's a good question. If we don't need them, I think the answer is probably no. But I think that sort of begs the questions about landscaping requirements and other things like that. So I think in our view as applicant, and BJ, feel free to jump in here too. I think we could probably do without any city services.
Probably family healthcare may look at doing some shade structures for just parking, but they may not. It would just be what would be the, without water, what would be the landscaping requirements, just like Brock and DG. Of course it can't, without water, it's not going to support any, trees or plants or ground cover. Did you guys get that?
Yes,
Okay, my headset, I want to make sure it worked.
thank you. With that, my understanding is that the applicant would be moving forward with a text amendment to the development code. As far as the use being established here, doing a text amendment due to the proposed project not being an identified use in the residential districts or our development ordinance. My understanding is that we would be moving forward with the applicant would be moving forward with a text amendment. With that,
hate to butt in, but we'll have to evaluate. We reviewed based on the plan that was submitted, but if we're going to look at not having landscaping, there is landscaping that is part of the standards. So we'll have to evaluate that portion of that question and get back to you on that.
So I guess my other question is there an issue with providing, city providing irrigation water service?
So, and Oscar, feel free to step in, but the city, there is a mechanism to extend it. It has to be through annexation because it's a commercial use, but that could be processed at the same time as the text amendment.
Because there are other properties that I think are like their existing facility is not annexed and it's in the county and it has water service. I believe there's other residences over there that are in the county that have city water.
Yeah, so there is with residential uses, there's in our water policy, there is mechanisms that allow for that through ESAs. As far as their facility that was developed in the county and remains in the county, that was many years ago, and I'm not sure what the policy was at that time. But our water policy, if I'm not mistaken, was updated in 2017. And so we would need to comply with the most recent resolution that the council adopted.
Okay. What's the rough timing for one, just the text amendment, and two, that with an annexation?
Jeff, maybe could you chime in on that? What you think it would be since?
Yeah, just a text amendment that just requires one public hearing by the city council. And if they approve the text amendment, it takes effect 30 days after that. So I mean, theoretically, that's maybe a 2-month process.
But that's an ordinance, right? So we'll do a second reading.
Yes, they'll have to do the public hearing followed by a second reading at the next meeting, and then it takes effect 30 days after that. So the annexation is a little different. If it only involves your property, then it's 100% consent item. That also has to go to city council at a public hearing. Theoretically, well, I won't say theoretically, the text amendment and the annexation initiation could be done at the same public hearing. And then that information and an application is forwarded to Tulare LAFCO. who would then notify other public agencies with an area of influence that overlaps this parcel. And then that should be a consent item on LAFCO's agenda. Because there would, if it's only this one property, because it would be 100% consent. And so, you know, following the city component, it's probably another 2 months after that for LAFCO to get the item on its agenda. And there presumably wouldn't be any conditions of approval from LAFCO, other than to ensure that the map and legal description meet state Board of Equalization standards. And then there's a fee of a few $100s that has to get paid to the state. Then LAFCO records the annexation. So, I mean, if it started today, start to finish is probably 5 months for a simple project like this, involving a text amendment and annexing one parcel, probably a 5 to 6 month process.
Thank you.
And then a quick question, presumably, whatever route is chosen, if the applicant chose to do so, we could prepare and submit plans in advance planning approvals, I guess somewhat at risk. Would the city be willing to do a plan check on those and withhold issuance of permits until such a time the planning approvals went through?
James, would
Yeah,
you be?
We'd support that.
Yeah, I think we've done that in the past, right, James?
Thank you.
So yes. So yeah, as far as the other comments from planning is gonna be the process forward. If we move forward with the development code amendment, the fees associated with that process. Annexation, if we do go that route, fees associated with that. Development code amendment is $4,213. The annexation would be considered a minor annexation for 1835. As far as mentioned, it will be a public hearing. There's also noticing map and labels that the city can prepare on behalf of the property owner for a fee of $26.50, or the applicant may move forward with their with a different service company. It will require an environmental assessment of the project. And as far as any other comments from planning, it could be a comment in relation to any screening of the property lines here on the south side and west side of the property. We do have in our development code that whenever we have commercial uses abutting a residential use or residential district, to provide a 6-foot high wall, screening wall that is made of masonry block.
I'd also want to state for the applicant, Aaron, I know we've been working on this, and I mentioned to you that I'm not sure of the applicant's timing, you know, if I'm not correct, end goal timing. I know first speaking, they wanted it done as soon as possible now, but that was, some months ago. We are undergoing a development ordinance update. So if this is something that, is not immediate need to happen, we could also through, comment input, have this text amendment included as part of our update that is presented. But our time frame on that, we're looking probably first quarter of next year though. So just kind of give you the options there, just being transparent. We are in that process, but if you want something sooner, this is how we could do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's all comments from planning. Next, we'll move along with our public works department.
No comments from me, Oscar.
Thank you, Michael. Next with Robert.
No comments.
Thank you, Robert. Next was David.
Yeah, none from me either.
Thank you, David. Believe that's all. Building, yes. Sorry, James. With building, James.
So, I'm gonna be talking about the electrical vehicle charging stations and the handicap accessible stalls. So based on the Cal Green code for electrical vehicle charging stations, we can only require the number of the required capable spaces and the number of the required spaces and infrastructure based off of the 2022 Cal Green Code. So for the number of the new parking stalls is 47. So that's what the requirement would be, and not the total number of parking stalls for your facility. Those chargers do not have to be located in the new parking area and can be closer to the front door. And then for the accessible stalls for the EV, you would refer to the California Building Code 11B on those accessible EV stalls. For the handicap stalls, we would need you to provide a breakdown of the split parking areas and how many total stalls are in each area and how many accessible stalls are in each area. And based on that count, some new accessible stalls may be required and would need to be located closer to the front entrance, and again, not in the new parking area. And that's all the comments that I have.
Thank you, James. That's all the comments from staff here. We'll prepare a letter for the applicant in which we'll compile each department's comments based off the project presented. We should be able to get that out to the applicant in 2 to 3 weeks timeframe. Is there any additional questions at this time from the applicant?
None from us here at Lane. BJ, you?
No, not that I can think of.
No, well, thank you for meeting with us today. We're gonna go ahead and end today's project review committee meeting at 1:51 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.